right. Good morning, everybody. Nikki Burnett here, Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. I don't have you in my view here. There we go. We'll move it around a little bit. Anyway, I'm not here alone. I actually have someone here with me. So, Taste Life Nutrition Radio, what are we about? We are about truth and health and wellness. We want to bring to you the very best that we can. We want you to have the knowledge to empower yourselves to be healthy, to do all of the things that you are supposed to do in this life to live large. And part of that is sleeping. I know, we don't really think about sleep that much, unless we're not getting any. And then I think probably we think about it a lot.
Too much.
So, yeah, exactly. So forgive me, I'm going to move this around so we can get you in so everybody can see your lovely face. All right. Cool. All right, so this is Seth Davis. Seth Davis is the founder of Sleepably. Let me make sure my music's down. It is. Okay. And anyway, so Sleepably, so he's a, oh gosh, I can't even talk. Seth is a sleep coach. I just need to slow down.
There's a lot of S's.
I know.
Seth, sleep coach, Sleepably.
It's a lot for me to take. Anyway, so he has this amazing business in Cherry Creek, which is here in Denver, Colorado. If you don't know that, if you're not from here, we are a global show, just so everybody knows, and so you know. So, want to make sure that anybody who is local, if you need to reach out, we'll give you all of this information. But Seth is going to talk to us about his life, his experience, and what he does now to help people, to guide them to do exactly what we want to talk about, which is live well by sleeping well, which is such a huge part of who we are and, of course, our experience in this world. So, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So, of course, as always, we start the show with gratitude. Gratitude can change the world. So, start your morning with what you're grateful for. Go to bed with what you're grateful for. Interestingly, I've said this before, but I want to send out a reminder that if you go to bed grateful, then very often you wake up grateful. If you go to bed fearful, if you go to bed thinking of all of the things and the hard things, then that's what you're going to wake up thinking about. So we want to wake up with gratitude. Gratitude can spread. It is energetic. And give it to those who you love and those who you don't love. It's important. So, what are you grateful for?
So, at the moment, I'm grateful for having a healthy family and just being lucky enough to be pursuing what I'm really interested in. So, I'm pursuing my passion.
Yeah, so this isn't what you've always done, right?
Right, yes. Before that, I was doing things that were unfulfilling for, so it's nice to be on a different path where I'm actually enjoying the ride.
Same. Very cool. Oh my goodness, I didn't even give it any thought this morning. I just sort of blew in and started going. So I am grateful for, oh, I know what I'm grateful for. My brother is getting married. And anybody who's watching this who knows my brother, you're going to be like, what? So I'm 51 here next month. My brother will be 48. This is his first marriage. I'm sure he'll really appreciate me saying that. But it's very exciting. He's very choosy, which he should be. And he is marrying an amazing lady. To me, I'm still just a girl, but she's super cool. I'm super grateful for him to find somebody to spend his time and his life with. So we're going to do that here in a couple of weeks. So, and I get to cook. I get to cook for the wedding, so I'm super excited about that.
That is something to be grateful for.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. Let's start out with your journey. What brought you here? What excites you? What motivates you? Where were you that brought you here? All of the things.
Yeah, so I guess it all starts with, going back to the kind of unfulfilling part. So I started out as a journalist, which was, that in itself was not unfulfilling, but that career just introduced a lot of kind of stress and deadline pressure. So there were a lot of things that just added up to kind of send me down the road to insomnia. So I kind of had sleep issues myself. And during that time, all the things that went along with it, just feeling tired, feeling unmotivated, and just wanted to learn how to do things naturally and learn how to sleep better without sleeping pills or sleep aids or anything like that. So
did you have to take sleep aids?
I did. I experimented a lot with herbal ones, over-the-counter ones, and
as most people do, right?
Exactly.
All of the things, yeah.
Exactly. Tried a couple of prescription sleeping pills, which I did not want to deal with too often.
Yeah.
So that whole part of my journey set me up for the next part, where I just wanted to learn how to do things naturally, learn what I was doing wrong so I could do things right, which coincided with learning there's such a thing as a sleep coach. And so it just came together where I wanted to fix myself so I could help other people fix their issues as well.
I had never heard of a sleep coach before meeting you.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was such a thing.
It's a relatively new thing. So there's certification programs out there, but it's over the past few years it's really started to catch on, and just sleep in general is becoming more of a focus.
Well, as it should. I mean, it's such a, I talk a lot when I'm on the show about these, the spirals and how everything's connected, and what's causing the sleep issues, or the sleep issues, what's it causing, and then it just goes round and round and round and round and round. So yeah, it's thank you. So sweet. Anyway, so it's a tough situation, because like with most things, you want to understand the root cause. What's happening, and why is it happening, and what's going on. And so that's part of my job too, but I'm assuming that's part of what you do.
It is, yeah. So when I start working with somebody, we have an intake process where I look at everything, a little bit their nutrition, but the stresses in their lives, their daily routines, their sleep schedule, their sleep hygiene, so things like sunlight exposure and the temperature in the bedroom, all those things. Just because there are so many different things that could be contributing to it. And once we identify some of those, sometimes it is, like maybe you need to work on your nutrition, so you can work with this person. But it really is kind of finding the root cause, because there's so many different things that could be contributing to it.
So for your own journey, how is it that you started to figure it out, come out of it, start sleeping? How amazing was that when you actually started sleeping?
Yeah, so that it all came from when I decided to become a sleep coach and to start getting the education, and that's when I really started to resonate. Okay, this is, you were doing this thing wrong, so your sleep schedule was all over the place, so your body was confused.
Which is what so many people do.
Yeah.
So many people.
And then, negative, thinking about sleep negatively is a big part of it. So, being worried about sleep, or thinking I'm just a bad sleeper, things like that. That is a big problem for a lot of people, and I was guilty of that for a long time. Kind of worrying about sleep during the day, worrying about sleep in the evening, and that was contributing to the problem. So just learning about all those things, and then the better way to approach those, and how to change how you think about sleep, and how to reduce your stress around sleep, and things like that. So once I really started learning about it and then applying it to myself, I noticed the difference. So when I start working with people, I have personal proof that when you improve this, then it can start to make it easier for you to sleep and remove some of that anxiety around sleep.
Well, and so that's what happens so often too, right? Is you go to bed fearing not going to sleep, which it's again, and so you don't sleep because you're afraid of not going to sleep, and it's horrible.
Exactly.
I've been there. It's not been a chronic issue for me, but it is something. I mean, I think with everybody, we all go through our spells, and but sometimes they last a little longer than you think. You're like, holy smokes, am I going to sleep tonight? And then you sit there and your mind just reels about not sleeping.
Exactly, and yeah, so you probably at that point can identify with kind of the fight or flight. So you probably, when you felt that fear, you started to get the fight or flight, and that's a big part of it. And you mentioned earlier, sometimes you think about sleep a little bit too much, and so it's one of those things where we have a little problem with our sleep, then we turn our focus to it. We start thinking about how to try to problem solve, and the problem just grows because our focus is squarely on that.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I know. I was going to talk about the fight or flight, because there's a lot of biochemistry behind that I think is important to talk about, because it's, for me, if there is an understanding about why things are happening, then it helps to dig deeper and helps you to search more. And so of course it's part of my job to do all of those things, but I also I think people need to know, people maybe not want to go as deep as I want to go, because I'm a little bit of a nerd, but I think it's important to understand. So there is our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system, and so our sympathetic is our fight or flight, our parasympathetic is our rest and digest, right? And we're supposed to be, for the most part, in rest or digest. what happens in rest and digest is we have all of the, so much of the blood goes to the core, which it allows the body to function, right? It allows the food that we eat to digest. It allows us to be calm. And that's what we want in order to sleep, to eat, to live healthy. We are supposed to be in fight or flight, but only in time of need, right? It's accidents and crazy things where you have to have that, adrenaline rush and that cortisol rush and those spikes. So over time, when we don't allow for this time of being calm, hi Angie, and we don't allow for the time to rest, and we just keep going and going, and we eat on the run, and then we're not sleeping, which again raises more cortisol and keeps you in, again, even overnight then in the fight or flight. So I don't mean to get too wordy about this, except it's the understanding again that it's kind of that nasty spiral where you then, what can happen is your body starts to become catabolic, right? So it starts to break down muscle tissue. And then, people wondering, well, I'm not sleeping and now I'm gaining weight and I'm unhappy and I'm not functioning well, my brain's not functioning. All of these things are connected. And so digging to the root cause and doing simple things, right? Like meditation and prayer. And so I don't mean to get into your business, but I talk about this a lot to my clients because it's important to have that time of calm and still because it literally changes our biochemistry.
Well, so it's funny, yesterday I was having coffee with one of your other guests, and some of you know Isaac Newberry.
Yeah, he was on last week.
Yeah, so we were talking about how there's different kind of ways to, because some people are just constantly locked in that fight or flight, and so there's different ways to kind of get around that. So you mentioned kind of meditation and things like that, relaxation. He does some hands-on work to help with that, and then when it comes to sleep, I help people to even just kind of education and awareness. So kind of here's what's going on, here's how your thoughts are affecting your sleep, here's how we can relax. Even that kind of education and awareness sort of helps as well. And so there's different ways to approach it, but I think that's within the wellness community, that's kind of where it's nice to have, we're having sort of your body is tense at night, so maybe let's talk to Isaac, the chiropractor, or let's work on your thoughts about sleep and things like that. So there's different ways, and they can be complementary to all kind of work together.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's important to, and sometimes, so Angie, I don't know if you know Angie, she said sleep is one of her most important things, most favorite things. Yeah, me too.
Hi,
Angie. So anyway, I talk about this a lot, and and with most of my guests, it's very much, I bring on a lot of people who have very similar views when it comes to practicing, right? We don't have to do the same thing, we don't have to believe the same thing, but we have similar views on how you practice, how you work with clients. And it's so much about building your team and helping people to understand that whatever it is that you're dealing with, sometimes it takes multiple people, practitioners, friends, family, priests, preachers, whatever it is that you need to help you move through the process of whatever you're dealing with. And especially when it's really chronic, you gotta look out, you gotta reach out. Don't try to do it on your own. Things are really hard when you don't understand it. There are a lot of things that I don't understand. What's hard for me is bookkeeping. I don't understand it, so I don't do it. So I reach out to people to help me do it. So it's not like we shouldn't reach out and ask for help from multiple people who you trust, or who the people who are on your team who they trust. So again, I get a little soapboxy on some of this stuff, but it's really important because so many people are struggling and don't know how to get out of their struggles.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we spend a lot of times too much just kind of trapped in there and kind of the analysis paralysis. Like, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything, and then it just lasts for months or years. And so yeah, sometimes just taking that first step and reaching out to somebody and just getting the ball rolling, and maybe they can direct you to somebody else, but at least you're taking a step toward.
Well, and that's what a good practitioner is going to do. Is I might be able to help you a little bit, but I know somebody who can help you a lot. So when you were figuring your stuff out, how long had you been dealing with insomnia?
So it was on and off for about 15 years.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I know. So I tell some of my current clients that, and they're like, "For how long?" Like, I've only been for 2 years or whatever. So, yeah, I spent a long time just the same thing, right? I didn't know where all I knew was sleeping pills. So, you know, I can talk to a doctor about that, but I felt almost embarrassed to ask a doctor about that just because, like, are they even gonna be able to help me with sleep, and what are they gonna do? So I never really asked too much.
Yeah.
And now I know that there's a lot of support out there. There's different things you can do, but yeah, it was on and off for about 15 years.
It's interesting. The approach that many of us have, and us is a very general collective, and including in there conventional or allopathic medicine, you know, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. Sometimes we need to have some of these drugs in order to get done what needs to get done, whether it's decrease inflammation or if it's to sleep a little bit or whatever the case is. But it's unfortunate when they're not, when whoever it might be, it can be any practitioner, but is not trying to dig for the root cause and helping to guide the person through digging through the root cause. And I want to bring this up real quick because I think it's super helpful. We know someone who was on sleeping drugs, you know, hardcore drugs for, I think it was 20 years. We've had Angie on. Angie does CBD. CBD is super cool. So think about a good quality CBD. Think about your nutrition. Think about seeing a sleep coach. All of these things are so important in really bringing it all together and bringing together a well-rounded approach to getting what you need. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually I was just thinking about it, and going back to the root of the problem, for sleep, sometimes the root is stress, or sometimes it's being unsatisfied with your life. So sometimes I kind of find myself almost becoming a life coach in a way. Like I had a client recently who he was feeling stuck in his job, and so and his finances were kind of not great, and so those things were kind of keeping up at night and keeping his mind racing. So I kind of was advising him on some of those things, and you can talk to this person, and so the more that we helped him kind of unravel some of those things, the more his sleep improved. Yeah. So sometimes it really is like maybe you need more of human interaction in your life. Yeah. Or more exercise, or more. So sometimes it's more than just like sleep hygiene, but it's, you know, how you're living your life during your days, what's missing, and how is that maybe affecting your sleep at night. So it goes pretty deep sometimes.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like talk therapy, right? You know, even if you're not a therapist, it's let's just get it out. Sometimes it's just all we need is just to get it out and get it out in the world, and for an outsider to be able to look in and say, okay, what about this and what about this? Sure. So it is interesting when people come to you for one thing. There is a little bit of that therapy that goes along with it. If
that's the root of the issue, then let's talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So what are you know, tips, tricks, thoughts, things that you can give to help people through their journey?
Yeah. So I would say one of them this is always one of my biggest tips, is if you are having an irregular sleep schedule, so maybe you wake up at 6 on the weekdays and 9 on the weekends, or just it varies all over the place. A lot of times that is one of the roots of the issue, because your body's confused, your circadian rhythm is thrown off, and you know that kind of throws everything off. So maybe look at just having a more regular sleep schedule across the entire week if possible, as much as possible.
Even the weekends.
Even the weekends, yep.
Not always easy, but even the weekends.
Yeah, and you should notice just a change in the quality of your sleep, how you feel during your days. So I see a lot of people who are kind of living those different sleep schedules throughout the week, and once you make that change, it tends to be really effective for you. So that's a big one. If you are worrying about sleep and you're thinking about it during the days and in the evenings, that's when things like meditation and things do help, but also working with a sleep coach or a therapist or something to kind of talk through that and learn how to deal with those worries and reduce them and replace them with more positive thoughts is always going to make it easier for you to go to sleep, so you're not carrying those things into bed with you.
So some people will say too, and that if you put like a notebook or something beside your bed, and so if you're thinking about something and you write it down, then you kind of let it go. Yeah,
exactly. That's a good thing. If you have that thought in the moment, sometimes I'll tell people just to make a practice out of it. So maybe a couple of hours before bed, just write down your to-do list or things that you're worried about or whatever is just kind of captured on paper, and then tell yourself, okay, I can close the book on that, come back to it tomorrow if I need to, but for now we're done worrying for the day. We've captured it.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I found myself doing that, and I'm like, I've got to get this out. So either I'll put it in my phone, which you're not supposed to have your phone next to your bed, but I do.
I'll let you slide.
It's a problem, I know. I'm trying to get into the habit, though, of turning off my put it in airplane mode next to my bed. And I don't know if you can see, so I have my phone right here. It's sort of dark, so it's not a blue light. Anyway, so I have changed that.
Yeah, like that filter on it?
Yes,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So putting a filter, I think, is really, really important. It doesn't mean you really should sit on your computer until you go to bed, but having that blue light filter, because that can really mess with circadian rhythms, Yeah,
and even just dimming the screen too. Like if you dim the actual brightness, that can be helpful as well, because you're not exposed to as much light.
Cool. And I have to bring up that nutrition can either create health or create stress, which creates dishealth and dis-ease, which can create then lack of sleep. So making sure that you're eating well, of course, and what I find is we are in such a place of confusion when it comes to food and comes to the food that we should eat and the foods that we shouldn't eat. Even people who come to me and are like, I'm super healthy. And it's not that I don't believe them. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. And most of the time they are, but there are a few things that really should and could be changed to really help, again, for people to optimize. And, there are foods that can keep people awake. If you're sensitive to certain foods, they might keep you awake. Supplements. There are certain supplements that can keep you awake, whether they are meant to keep you awake or whether it's like B12, you take it too late, it'll keep you awake. I know if you're doing something to support your adrenals because you're stressed, if you take them too late, they might keep you awake. So lots of things to think about. And of course, this is just my world, when I talk to people who aren't sleeping well, but nutrition and being healthy and living that healthy lifestyle and eating the foods that are going to support your cells and support your DNA and support your circadian rhythm and support your adrenals and your sleep cycles, all of those things are huge.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like there's that direct causation, correlation. And I would say just from a sleep perspective that when you're not sleeping well, you're more likely to choose more unhealthy foods. You're more likely to, it messes with your hormones that control feelings of hunger and fullness. And and also your risks of being obese and gaining weight are higher as well. So they both affect each other. And so when you're doing well in the sleep department, you're more likely to have better nutrition. When you have better nutrition, you're more likely to sleep well. So there is a lot of connection there.
Yeah, it's more than huge. I've seen it many times when we just make small changes for when it comes to diet that can help with sleep. So tell me what else, as far as when you're working with clients, what you see, what you experience, what your clients experience, what your role in your company looks like. Those are really two different questions. Sorry, just kind of things come out that I'm thinking sometimes I should just stop.
Yeah. So I'm within my company. I'm the adult sleep coach, and we have 2 pediatric sleep coaches who work with parents to help their children sleep better. When I'm working with a client, like I said, we kind of do an in-depth intake process. So I just want to see what does your life look like, your lifestyle, everything in it, and your sleep schedule, so I can see what your sleep looks like. So once I have that information, then we can start to really personalize it. So we can say, here are some specific roadblocks you might be having. So sleep schedule, stress, all those things. And then let's build a plan to actually start to kind of eliminate those things or change them for the better based on what the information you provided. And then so each week we sort of pick 2 or 3 things. Like we're going to work on your sleep schedule. We're going to talk about kind of the idea of being afraid of being asleep or being awake. So let's work through those things, really coach you through it, get you prepared, and then, send you on your way for the week, check in, and then the next week, let's look back and then look forward to the next things we're doing. So we kind of just go week by week, we build on habits, we change thoughts and fears and kind of just guide them to a place where they're just feeling a bit more confident about sleep, less worried about it, like they have to put less effort into trying to sleep and just make it easier for them. So that's kind of the overall goal that we go for.
Okay. And how many times do you work with someone typically?
Usually 4 sessions or 6 sessions.
Okay.
So 6 sessions is usually for someone who's kind of, they've been dealing with sleep issues for a long time, or they're trying to get off sleep medications. And 4 is more for just kind of the normal, trouble sleeper. There has been less time, less to work through, and kind of just need to make some adjustments and remove some things and improve it for them.
What I think is really cool and amazing is the fact that you can make such big changes in 6 weeks, 4 weeks, and somebody can sleep like a baby in a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a lot of it really is like, even from the first session we start the kind of education. So kind of, okay, so here's the issue, here's what's going on with that, here's why that's happening, and then here's how to do it. And a lot of times, even that first, like you said, having somebody listen to you, I think kind of relieves some of the fears and kind of normalizing certain things, like that you're not the only one in the world dealing with this. This happens is actually kind of normal, and kind of normalizing it. And even just having somebody to listen to you and give you that plan. So here's what we're going to do is very, I think, calming for a lot of people. So we start to see a lot of times results in after that first week, just because they finally they know what's going on, they know what we can do to make healthier changes, and that just I think calms their brain down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to what we're talking about when, you're trying to go to sleep. Getting stuff out can help to just calm the body. It's, I don't know, it's almost like a meditation, just getting it out, being still and being calm about it.
Exactly, yeah. Instead of just keeping it trapped in and just letting it run wild in your mind.
Eating at you and eating at you, yeah. And again, it goes back to the biochemistry and how it's affecting the body, is really tough on the body. Stress shrinks the brain. Remember that. Stress shrinks the brain. And so it's really important to find that time to be still and be calm. What are some of your favorite stories?
Let's see. So I've had a lot of interesting clients. I had one person who come to me who he'd been struggling with sleep for about 7 years, been on different sleep aids that whole time, and he came to me and he said, he's like, I am going to be one of your worst clients. I am broken. If you can help me, I will mortgage my house. And
wow.
So he was halfway joking, but so actually within probably about 4 or 5 weeks, he had his first night in 7 years without taking some sort of sleep aid, and we had a moment where he told me, he's like, so last night I took an Ambien and then I fell asleep within like 5 minutes. And so I told him, I was like, well, I think, it takes at least 10 minutes for Ambien to get into your system and down into your gut. And so that wasn't the Ambien, that was you falling asleep. And so he actually teared up.
That's got to be really cool, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of teared up. It was kind of emotional for him. And so that was a cool moment. Just helping people to just realize, like, you can do this. You have it in your body. You can, like, you have everything you need to sleep well. You just need to believe it and work on it, gain confidence, and we can, get you there. But
yeah, supplements and the drugs, the Ambien, that kind of thing, can so often be a crutch. And even if you don't need it, you're like, but I do need it.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, and I was talking about how you do reach that point where even with herbal supplements, so it might be good for you, might be a good thing, but I always kind of give people the test where, say you're taking this supplement and you go on vacation and you forget it. Are you going to freak out and say, I'm not going to be able to sleep because I didn't bring it with me? And if so, then it's sort of become a crutch for you. You're mentally dependent on it.
Yeah.
So I always give people that test of how dependent are you on this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to I think remember that, drugs have a place, supplements have a place, but really we want to be able to do things without help. And the world we live in, we live in a world depleted of, where our food is depleted of good, nutrients, and our soils are depleted, and that's a whole other topic. But I like that because again, I've been there where I'm, thought, well, I need this, I have to have it, or I'm just not going to sleep. It's really frustrating, as I'm sure many of you know.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to, I talk with a lot of people about like, sometimes when you try harder to sleep, it gets harder to sleep. And so sometimes taking supplements and pills is a form of trying to sleep. So and sometimes sometimes it requires you just saying, okay, I'm going to try it without those things and give yourself proof that you can do it. Sometimes it's a little bumpy at first when you're trying to get off of a sleep medication. Like it can cause some bumps, but once you get through that and you gain those little bits of proof, then you start to be like, you know what, maybe I don't need it that much. Maybe my body can produce this and help me do this, and maybe I can do this on my own. So it's always rewarding to see people gain that confidence.
What do you know what the quickest is that you've been able to help somebody?
It's been 2 sessions.
Okay.
So I've had people sign up for 4 sessions and say, you know, I'm good after 2 sessions. Let's keep those other 2 sessions just in case, and we'll come back to those. But at the moment, I'm doing pretty well.
Awesome.
So, and sometimes it's just like I said, the education. Sometimes it's making changes to their sleep schedule. But just sometimes if you just identify those big roadblocks, get them out of the way, then it provides some quick results.
Do you ever talk about or help guide through the EMFs?
I know of them. I know kind of what their effects, but we don't really focus on that too often.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I need to learn more about it, but it's not really a big focus.
I have a good resource for you if you are interested in something like that. You know, it's interesting when I have a client who's having a tough time. It's funny because I was just saying this to a client yesterday, but when I have a client who's having a tough time with getting over their hump, whatever they came to me for, so often I believe it's due to a past trauma. So it's mental and emotional. Even if they came to me for physical stuff, right? It's mental, it's emotional. There is a block. There's something that's going on, and so sleep is included in that, obviously. Or EMFs, and I am not great with EMFs either. I have done some study on it, and I don't do it well enough in my house. I also know that it is partly epigenetic, which is super interesting because what that means is we can actually see if you have a sensitivity to EMFs, including like the where were the 5? What's it called for our cell phones? We're in
5G.
5G. The hard things, right? But we can be really sensitive to those things. We can be sensitive to the high wires if we're too close to those, to the internet, the Wi-Fi being on all the time. And think about dogs. Interestingly, totally off topic, or mostly off topic, every time we have the doors open in the summer, bees come in, and I just try to take them and push them out. But if they stay in the house, they die. And I was like, why is this happening? It's not been that long. Why did they die in the house? And my husband says, maybe it's because of the Wi-Fi. I was like, isn't that really freaking scary?
Yeah.
And interesting. So something to think about. I always try to get them outside because that's where they belong, and I need them to do their job. So we try to get the bees out. But it's I've looked at my own epigenome, what I can of it, and I know that I don't have sensitivities to it. But remember, if you were to do a test like this and you can see it and you don't have sensitivities to it, doesn't mean it's not going to affect you. EMFs really do. Oh, yes. EMF, electromagnetic fields, sorry. Thanks, Victoria. So they can really have an effect on you. They can have, we don't, the problem is we don't even know at this point the effects, all of the effects that they can have. But there is a type of, what are they called? They're called building engineers or something like that. But there's a girl who I didn't go to school with her, but we went to the same nutrition school. And that's what she does, is she goes into buildings and she measures. And when people aren't getting better, if they're still not sleeping with all the work and, all the work they do with their people, could it be that they need to work more in there?
That's interesting.
It's really interesting.
I didn't know that some people are more sensitive to, or that you actually test for that as well. So I know. So with sleep, I remember what I learned was just basically that with sleep we like to have kind of deeper brain waves during the nights, but EMF sometimes can keep your brain waves in that kind of faster, shallower frequency. Is that pretty much what you know from a sleep standpoint as far as how they affect you?
I think they affect a lot of things. So yes, and I don't really know the answer. So I'm just kind of going to go off of what I can expect to be the case. Is since we're all created, or we're all energetic beings, that yes, it's going to affect the brain waves. It's going to affect all of our energy in some form or fashion, because that's just how we're created, as energy. And so I don't know exactly what it does. Be interesting, and I don't know who knows that stuff. I have no idea. I'm sure the people who are putting all of the 5G out there don't have any idea, because they don't really care. But we should care, and we should do what we can. There's some things that we just can't avoid. We talk about toxicities in the environment. We can't necessarily control what's being put up in the air, which is really sad. I mean, I know a lot of people are trying, but in our everyday lives, we have to deal with what we have to deal with, and we can control turning off the Wi-Fi when we can. We can control, what the foods are that we put in our mouths. We can control the things that we put on our bodies, and all of these things being toxicants, potentially, if they're not good, and endocrine disruptors, which also then can go back to sleep issues. And they can go back to, which, sort of my world right now is struggles with fertility and miscarriages. You have all of these things affect that as well, and creating a healthy baby and creating a healthy pregnancy. And we have to have good sleep, and we have to have good mindset. All of these things are necessary for epigenetically creating a healthy future, which is amazing and so much fun. But we have control over so much of what we do, so we can't struggle too much with some of these other things that we don't have control over, but we want to do our part and do what we can. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
Yes. You've inspired me to dig deeper into EMFs.
Yeah, I have a kind of a class that I should be able to send to you if you want. If you want to kind of dig into it a little bit. It's really interesting. It gives some good hints and tips and tricks, so you can just kind of take those and help others with it. So that's what I try to do, is just at a very superficial level, just help people to kind of at least think about, what's going on in the house, what's going on. There are things like the microwave that can be a big problem. Gas stoves.
Learn more about that lately.
Yeah, that's a hard one, because I love gas stoves.
Same here.
Yeah, kind of as a cook, you're like, the gas stove is sort of the only way to go. But yeah, there are lots of things. It's the lights, the new lights that we have, not incandescent, but the new lights.
Like this LED?
Yeah, is it LED? Anyway, yes. So anyway, we're kind of getting off topic a little bit, which I'm totally fine with. But just it's so much to think about. The dimmer switches put off a lot of EMFs.
Okay. Didn't know that.
All of these convenient things are really kind of toxic.
Actually, that's been the case for a long time. The more convenient, the more toxic.
It's true. Going back to fertility just a little bit, and sleep. Men, carrying your phones in your pockets. Stop carrying your phones in your pockets. Unless you are trying to not have babies, then sure, carry your phones in your pockets. But if you're trying to have babies, don't carry your phone in your pocket. Do you carry your phone in your pocket?
Guilty.
Yeah. Most men do. Ladies and men, if you're sitting in a chair and you've got your computer on your lap, have something between your lap and the computer. All of this stuff here, some of you can see, it's pretty important stuff for having babies. So protect yourself from those nasty EMFs.
That's a good public service announcement.
Yeah, sometimes I just can't help myself. Okay, so what other, I love testimonials. Not testimonials, but stories. I think people relate to stories well. And when they hear something that they relate to, like, oh, okay, now I get it. So other good stories.
Yeah, let's see. So I'm trying to think about. So I have a podcast too. I just did a podcast yesterday, and it was on the topic of why investing in your sleep is such a good investment. And so I was talking about how when a lot of clients come to me, they always have their why. So I want to sleep better because it'll help me, be more present with my kids and my family, or because it will help me finally get that promotion I've been wanting. Because usually I'm just tired and energized. So I'm trying to think about some of the good whys I've had. I've had a lot of different ones. There was one person who, so there's one person, he was about 61, and he was about 2 years from retirement. So he's like, I've slept really poorly for years. I checked myself into a mental health facility for a while just because it was so bad. I'm on family leave right now just so I can work through this. I've been taking sleep aids for the past 5 years or so, and I'm just really afraid that I'm not going to enjoy my retirement because I'm just going to be tired and worried about sleep. And so I helped worked with him. Within 3 weeks, he had his first night with no sleep aids, his first sleep through night in a long time, and he was so happy just because he would be able to go into retirement without having this big worry on his shoulders, and be able to travel and do things with energy and with. So that was really rewarding too.
How fun.
Yeah.
Anything else? Sorry, I like stories.
There's a lot of them. Let's see. I had just a busy business owner. So he owned a business, a financial business, and had small kids, and just was just from the moment he woke up in the morning till the moment he went to sleep at night, it was just go, go, go. Was having stress reactions to his health. Didn't have time for anything. So that was one of the cases where I kind of worked with him to say, okay, can we fit in 5 minutes of relaxation during the day here? Can we maybe take a little bit longer lunch break so that you can actually, eat outside or something like that?
I love that.
Yeah, and so once we started making those small changes, within a month or so, he's like, well, maybe I'm going to ask my staff to give me a bigger break here. And so maybe I can arrange this so I can have more time to play with my child at night. So that it improved his sleep, but also one of those cases where it kind of improved his life as well. He's able to give himself permission to just relax a little bit. So that's one of those cases where we're working on sleep, but it leaks into other areas of your life as well.
Which is huge in my mind. That's just huge. It's that it's like you said, it's not just sleep, but it's opening him up to understanding that his life should not be, and I'm guilty of this. But his life should be more than just work. And when you have your kids, I think about my dogs. I don't have kids, I have my dogs, but they still need to play and to have fun. I think about being able to spend more time with my husband. And, as, I don't know if this guy was an entrepreneur, but you are. Everybody who's been on the show today has been an entrepreneur, which is super cool. But, how many hats do we have to wear?
So many.
As the entrepreneur.
Too many.
And we have to do the things that we don't know how to do. And it's hard, and so you get consumed, and I'm coming at this from, speaking very personally about it, but you become consumed with all of the things that have to be done, and just to grow, just to reach people, just to try to give information and education, and what does it take, and how do you speak to people so they understand what you're trying to say. And so all of these things, I could never stop working, and I would not be done. And I think that's the case for most everybody who's an entrepreneur.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
So it's about kind of giving yourself boundaries, giving yourself permission to, and just let yourself know, like, rest is important too. And we work better when we rest. When you rest, you don't miss out on productivity as much as you think you will.
That is an interesting concept, and I'm not going to get it exactly right. I know that there are people who, they work, and finally okay, now I'm working with intention. I'm not working as much, but I'm working with intention, and just instead of just doing, right, which can free up some time, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring that one out.
Well, I think they've also done studies showing that if you have your 8-hour workday, like, you kind of you slow down the productivity, you lose focus after, I'm going to say, 5 or 6 hours maybe. So after a certain point, you're just not really contributing much.
Yeah.
So if they've learned that if you squeeze it into a shorter amount of time, you're more focused, you have that deadline to get things done, and sometimes you can get more done or the same amount done in less time. Or going from the 4-day work week to the 5-day work week to the 4-day work week, and still get as much done, maybe even more. And
that is interesting. I'm gonna have to try that. Put deadlines on myself.
Yeah, it helps. Because I've heard the saying a lot recently where, I don't know who originally said it, but what is it? Work expands to fill the amount of time you have. So you give yourself more time, you're going to take more time to work.
Yeah.
So it's trying to compress it and just get it done so you can move on with life.
I like that. I'm gonna do a 3-hour work week. Not happening.
I'll go for 2.
Right.
One up you.
So, have you worked with anybody who is, and this is again coming kind of from where I am right now, working with women who are struggling with fertility. Have you worked with any women who are struggling with fertility?
Not off the top of my head. That I've worked with women who, kind of after giving birth, before, but never anybody who we've talked about at least struggling with fertility. Okay.
So I can't help but to bring it up just because, I think I said it a little while ago, but the sleep plays such a huge role in making sure that we're calm enough for the body to want to get pregnant. It's kind of got to want to. And it's kind of got to be a situation where you're open to it. I had a guest on, I like this so much, but anyway, it's a few weeks ago, but she would say that it is, pregnancy is about receiving and not about doing. And I love that so much. But part of that is, taking care of yourself and, giving yourself the downtime and allowing yourself to rest and figuring out what that looks like. Because the lack of rest, I'm being repetitive, but it creates stress, which, the body, when it's stressed, the last thing it wants to do is bring on more stress, right? And so, it's a pretty important one, I think, for those who are sort of in the midst of the struggle. It can be really, really frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I just gave a presentation to a hospital a couple weeks ago about naps. And just how a lot of them, their schedules are crazy or there's a lot of stress involved. So just the idea of taking 30 minutes to take a nap or even just kind of get some deep rest in 10 to 30 minutes. But just it can be a game changer for the whole second half of your day. It can restore your energy, help you to improve your mood and all these things. So just that even a little bit of rest can go a long way. My
favorite thing to do is when it's warm, can't do it today. I got in the car and it was 12 degrees. It's like, I should have had a scarf on. Anyway, but when it's warm outside, and we've had a couple of those in the last couple of weeks, but I go outside and I sit in the sun, and I literally, that's what helps me to decompress, is sitting in the sun and allowing the sun to to me, I call it God's hug. I just love it. It just feels good. It's warm. It's cozy. It's comforting. And so I can do that for 5 minutes. I could do it for 45 minutes. It just kind of depends on my day, what I'm doing. But that is, for me, I meditate in the morning. Try to meditate in the morning every morning. Don't always get it in. But during the summer, I do that almost every day. Or, spring, summer, fall, when I can. Just because that's what brings in my parasympathetic, my rest and digest, and I'm getting away from the computer and I'm stopping to think, and it's the sun that helps me to stop it. I can't just go lay down somewhere. I'm not a napper. I've never been a napper, although I believe they're important. But it's that time that helps me to get away and decompress.
Sure. Yeah, sun is one of the best energy boosters, mood boosters. It's very one of the best natural things we can do. I think for me, I like walks, like taking my dogs for a walk at lunch, or going for a run and getting that sunlight is kind of my same thing. It's just getting sunlight, getting fresh air, just getting movement. Is pretty much, if I don't have that during my day, it feels kind of like there's something missing for the day.
Yeah. And so many people, I did a post on this the other day, but so many people are afraid of the sun. And the sun is a gift. It's a gift from God. We don't have, I talk about, my company's Taste Life Nutrition. I say, taste life, food is life, taste life. Well, without the sun, we don't have food. We don't have life. So I would ask you not to be afraid of the sun. Don't cover up. Respect the sun. We have to respect it. But We have to get sunlight. We have to get sunlight. That morning sunlight can help to regulate your circadian rhythm. That afternoon between 10 and 2 is good for helping to convert your vitamin D. So don't be afraid of the sun. Get outside and read in the morning if you can. Drink your coffee or your tea, whatever you do before 10 o'clock. Try to get out midday, get the sun. Expose as much skin as you can. Super important. This is all, lack of vitamin D is going to interfere with sleep. Too much alcohol is going to interfere with sleep. Any alcohol really will interfere with sleep. And so another thing that I love is grounding. Do you ever do grounding?
I have not had too much experience with that.
So I try to. I also have dogs in the backyard, so I have to be careful with walking barefoot in the backyard. And they're big dogs. But if I can, I'm walking in the front yard. If we go camping, I'm trying to walk so it's not as much as I would like, but for those who want the extra things, these are amazing extra things that we can do. It's that our earth also is energetic, right? It's the energy from the earth that is very therapeutic in helping us to ground. And we always wear, these days I'm looking at my shoes, we have rubber bottom soles, right, which interfere with that, and these are leather, but probably they'll interfere as well. So if you can get out and walk barefoot, feel the ground and enjoy the ground, enjoy the sun, enjoy the air, all of those things are going to help put you into a parasympathetic state and allow for better rest, better digest, better sleep, better life. I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, I'm going to fully just second everything you just said. A lot of times I find myself educating people about sunlight, fresh air, things like that, and just how our body just has this natural rhythm to it. It's natural circadian rhythm, and that we can influence that and keep it on track with nature, with light, with temperature, with all those things. So, yeah, I mean, everything you just gave was great advice. I would say the more that you can just keep yourself sort of on nature's rhythm and keep yourself synced to it, then you should sleep better, feel better, and just everything should just function better inside of you.
Yeah, agreed. Another thing that I just thought about too is eating late. So many of us eat 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock, and it's not a time, when we're going to bed where we want our body to be working. It's not a time where we're wanting the body to be to digest, right? It's a time where we should be fairly empty already, because sleep is a time of repair. And so, not eating 3 hours, if possible, before you go to bed, it's kind of a big deal. And eating and rising, getting up and going to bed, sort of with the sun. I know we can't really do that right now because it's dark at 4 o'clock. So frustrating. I'm a summer girl. Yeah, I need summertime. But just kind of keeping that in mind, eating at 6 o'clock if you go to bed at 9 o'clock, eating by 7 o'clock if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, and trying to just keep that in mind so you have that time for your body to start to empty and to get rid of stuff, and then allow it to repair and to be calm and all the things that it's supposed to do. And that's when the brain repairs as well. So sleep is obviously very important.
Actually, I'll be interested to hear what you think about this. So I do give that advice for a lot of people. I try to stop eating around 3 hours before you go to bed. But there are some people who are, they feel extra hungry before they go to sleep. So I say maybe have a small, healthy snack just to kind of subdue the tide a little bit, just so you can rest more easily. And I'm actually one of those people, so I'll have just like a small snack right before I go to sleep, just like 200 calories or so. So what do you think about that?
I think that everybody is individual, and I think that sometimes it's fine. I think sometimes we have to. There are, I think of people who have, blood sugar dysregulation, and, maybe they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because their blood sugar has dropped, and so which means their cortisol goes up, and that's what wakes us up. And so they wake up at 3 o'clock, and sometimes could go eat a little bit of dark meat chicken. It's got tryptophan in it, and it's a protein, and so that's something that can help with regulating blood sugar and allowing you to go back to sleep. So I think there's the ideal and then there's the reality. And so if you have a reality, there also can be situations where people have cravings. Why do we have cravings? Because there's some kind of dysregulation or dysfunction going on. So address your craving if you need to in a healthy way, but also then understand that your body's talking to you. Your body is trying to tell you there's something going on, there's something that we need to address. I'm having this issue. Everything that happens is our body talking to us. And I say this a lot, but we have lost that connection. We've lost the ability in so many ways to listen to our body, because we're like, oh, I have a headache, instead of saying, I wonder why I have a headache. It's, I need to go take an Advil. Or I wonder why I'm not sleeping. I need to go take an Ambien. Or I wonder why I'm having this craving for sugar. I'm going to go eat a chocolate cake, right? And so sometimes we can address the situation as it is at the time, but have an awareness around how you're addressing it. Have an awareness of what your body's trying to tell you. If you don't know, that's when you go find people who can help you figure it out. Because that's why we do what we do. And that's why everybody does what they do, because they are there, and most of us in a way of serving others in some form or fashion. And so I think that's all I was going to say.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to bring it back around to the idea that finding the root of the problem is the important part. The why is this happening? And let's work on it. Yep.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's make sure that everybody knows where to find you and how to find you and how to get a hold of you. You do everything virtually, yeah?
Yeah, I was going to mention that. So I work with people across the country, across different countries. So I can be virtually anywhere. So
cool.
If you're living in Germany or anywhere, I can help you.
Do you speak German?
No. I can understand German accents. So that's about as far as I can go.
Cool. And so you are Sleepably.
Yeah, Sleepably, so sleepably.com. You can come on there and schedule a free discovery call, so we can just chat about it and talk about your options. So that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. And like I said, we have pediatric sleep consultants too. So if you have kids at home who aren't sleeping well, we can work with that too.
Interestingly, I was going to bring this up earlier and I forgot. I think that this is something that's not well known. I'm sure your coaches know this, but I think I feel like it's so important to put out in the world that there are times when kids don't sleep well because they are not well developed here, and so maybe your kid is snoring or whatever the case may be, or they're not fully, their face doesn't fully develop like to their full genetic potential, and it's due, I think, to a lot of reasons. It can be nutrient deficiencies or lots of things, but when we as people don't develop to our full potential, then that can create problems. And so think about something like that. If your kid needs braces, maybe we don't think about changing their teeth. Maybe we look at the structure of their face. Right? There's so much that can be done without true modification, but it's more about allowing the body to get to come to the full genetic potential, and hopefully that can change some things as well. But certainly something to look out for, I think, with sleep issues. But kids today, we've got toxins in foods. We've got the red food colorings and the blue food colorings. We've got sugar in everything. That's stuff that all things that we have so much control over. And I'm sure that your coaches, it's making sure that all of those things are addressed. It's tough for kids today.
There's a lot of challenges, even starting with the food, like you said.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm going to wrap it up. Of course, this is Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live every week on Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Mountain Time on KUHSdenver.com. And want to make sure that you know where you can find me, which is pretty easy. It's always Taste Life Nutrition. We have Soulful Conception, which is launching hopefully soon. I've been saying this for weeks now. Soulful Conception is purposeful living for a healthy a healthy body, a healthy pregnancy, and a healthy baby. And I am excited about this program for multiple reasons, but one of those reasons is because I'm bringing on experts in their field to help with the issues that can happen with women who are struggling to get pregnant, or with men, right? This isn't just about women. This is a team goal, right? Getting pregnant. And so I want men involved as well. Although it is mostly for women, there will be men's health and fertility in there as well. But people like Seth, people like Dr. Isaac, who is on, people who can help give guidance in these areas. And this is a very holistic approach to getting pregnant. You know, we're looking at mindset, we're looking at food, we're looking at hypnofertility, Natalia. So we're looking at people who do amazing things in the world of guiding women to get pregnant, to stay pregnant, and have those healthy babies, and to create generations to come of healthy babies. It's all in our hands, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So if you have questions, I hope that you'll reach out to me. And you can go to the website, tastelifenutrition.com, fill out a free assessment. I'll reach out to you and we'll chat about it, see what we can do to help you, or where we can guide you. You know, I may be the right person, I may not be, but I know a lot of really cool people who do a lot of cool things. So I think that's it. Feel free to ask questions. Gosh, I can't even talk. We're at the end and I can't talk anymore. Feel free to reach out, ask questions, post them in the Facebook page. You'll find us in the podcast, Taste Life Nutrition Podcast, after this on YouTube, and anywhere you find your favorite podcast. So thank you. See you next week. Have a good week, everybody.